Have you ever wondered if a handheld gaming device could truly replace both your console and your laptop at the same time? That bold idea has been bouncing around the gaming world for years, fueling rumors and wishful thinking. Suddenly, out of nowhere, ASUS arrives with the ROG Ally, a sleek, powerful handheld running on Windows, promising everything from AAA PC titles on the go to retro console emulation with ease. Some called it the next best thing in handheld gaming, while others dismissed it as overhyped vaporware. But what's the real story here? Could this device actually live up to the excitement, or would it fade once folks dug into its quirks, controversies, and hidden potential? In this deep dive, we're unpacking all the pivotal moments and speculations swirling around the ROG Ally. We'll look at how it squares off against well-established rivals in the handheld market, the shocking performance claims that got everyone talking, and that fine line between legitimate retro game accessibility and risky legal territory. Most importantly, we'll shed light on the unstoppable modding community. Because while official marketing materials might highlight certain features, it's often the fans who see the real possibilities. Strap in for a whirlwind look at a device that, depending on whom you ask, is either an overpriced toy or one of the most intriguing handhelds of our time. Welcome to Gamers Service Announcement. GSA, the more you know. Click that subscribe button and hit on the alert button to get notified about new videos for you. When early whispers about the ROG Ally began floating around social media and gaming forums, the initial response was lukewarm. Handheld PCs weren't new. Valve's Steam Deck was already making waves, and other Windows-based handhelds had dipped their toes into this space. Many assumed ASUS might just be cashing in on a growing trend without bringing anything truly innovative to the table. But in typical ASUS fashion, they didn't just announce a concept, they unleashed a fully realized device that promised more horsepower than many believed possible in such a compact form. The rivalry that quickly emerged between the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally was more than just specs on paper. On one hand, you had the Steam Deck with Valve's seal of approval, a custom Linux-based OS, and an entire ecosystem fine-tuned for that hardware. On the other, the ROG Ally stormed in with a Windows environment, direct access to the entire PC library, and a brand name recognized for gaming laptops and motherboards. People began taking sides, pitting AMD custom chips against each other, measuring rumored battery life, even speculating about price points that changed like shifting tides. Just a few days of speculation turned into an unstoppable hype train. Influencers, journalists, and gamers alike started calling the ROG Ally the next big thing in handheld gaming, or a flashy toy that'd overheat on your first attempt at launching a demanding title. The real twist was how quickly ASUS pushed out marketing materials touting AAA game performance at decent frame rates, stable temperatures, and a build quality meant to survive daily commutes. Suddenly, the world had two major titans battling for the top spot in handheld PC gaming. The question was, could ASUS stand toe-to-toe with an established competitor that had months of traction and a loyal fan base behind it? At first, it looked like smooth sailing. Previews indicated the ROG Ally really might outpace the Steam Deck in sheer power, fueling talk that the device would overshadow everything else. But soon enough, chatter started about certain technical missteps, from driver hiccups to battery drain that defied the official claims. Long before the official launch, we already had a swirl of rumors strong enough to split the community. That sense of uncertainty only grew in the weeks leading up to the release. It started to seem like the ROG Ally might be a dual-edged sword. One side offering a robust next-generation handheld, the other overshadowed by concerning issues that threaten to dull its shine. And, as we'll see, performance is only half of the equation. The real story also involves corporate controversies, community-driven workarounds, and a thriving underground scene that wouldn't let small flaws sink a device with such massive potential. Hype always breeds controversy, and the ROG Ally's performance claims were no exception. Even before formal reviews dropped, ASUS made some lofty promises. Stable frame rates in modern AAA titles, minimal heat buildup despite a slim form factor, and enough battery life to keep gamers satisfied during the long sessions away from a charger. On paper, it sounded too good to be true. Early adopters who got a sneak peek at the device started pushing back on these claims. Some reported the battery would tank alarmingly fast under heavier loads, especially when running demanding PC games at higher resolutions. The community latched onto these reports, magnifying them. Certain enthusiasts exposed side-by-side comparisons with the Steam Deck, showing the ROG Ally's battery sometimes falling short of even Valve's estimates. Others uncovered that if you toggled the device to turbo mode, which was heavily advertised, you'd better keep a charger nearby because the battery icon would practically free fall in real time. Then, there were rumors of potential overheating. A few unverified but widely shared posts claimed that after intense gaming sessions at maximum performance settings, the ROG Ally got worryingly hot, leading to throttling or system reboots. This unleashed a wave of memes labeling the device the ROG oven. Although many were joking, the undercurrent of skepticism was real. People wondered, had ASUS jumped the gun? Marketing performance that was theoretically achievable but practically out of reach for everyday scenarios? The controversy simmered, especially when reviewers tried different forms of use. Some tested older titles or emulators, finding decent battery life and no temperature woes, while others stress-tested the system with graphically intense software, reporting a meltdown of performance. For every user impressed by the ROG Ally's speed, there was another complaining of loud fan noise or suspicious temperature spikes. These conflicting experiences often boiled down to how each individual configured Windows, which power profile they chose, and whether or not they updated drivers religiously. Because the ROG Ally ran on Windows, it inherited the complexities of PC gaming, such as background processes or unexpected power usage. That environment gave rise to both love and frustration. If you were used to tinkering, you could manage and squeeze out stellar results. But if you were hoping for a just-works console-like experience, the entire balancing act could feel cumbersome or disappointing. Still, the controversies didn't sink the device. On the contrary, they put a spotlight on all the ways the ROG Ally could be tweaked, optimized, and modded. Which leads us right into the next major theme. One of the biggest talking points swirling around the ROG Ally was its capacity to emulate older consoles. Everything from NES classics to more advanced systems like PS3, Wii U, and beyond. Because it ran full-fledged Windows, setting up emulators was simpler than on a locked-down OS. Emulation fans saw a treasure trove of potential here. Suddenly, you had a portable form factor with enough power to tackle even the trickiest emulators, combined with a well-known OS that allowed you to load up specialized software, custom controllers, or add-on tools. However, that convenience nudged open a legal gray area. While many folks love the preservation aspect of emulation, or simply enjoy replaying older titles they own, large companies, especially Nintendo, have a history of cracking down on what they see as unauthorized software distribution. The ROG Ally's robust Windows environment effectively removed many barriers that previously kept emulation from going mainstream in the handheld PC space. That difference caught attention. If the ROG Ally became a bestseller, would it start a new wave of public scrutiny? Adding to the intrigue, some enthusiastic Ally owners demonstrated the device running entire libraries of older games at near-perfect performance. This led to social media posts showing the ROG Ally powering mid-2000s titles at high resolutions, or delivering advanced upscaling for older 3D-era games, sparking envy among fans of classic console experiences. More importantly, it amplified the device's identity as not just a PC gaming handheld, but also a convenient all-in-one retro powerhouse. Gamers debated the ethics of widespread emulation. Some insisted that if you owned the original games, it was legitimate to load them onto your handheld. Others felt uneasy about how easy it had become to grab entire sets of ROMs without paying a cent to the original developers. ASUS mostly kept quiet, focusing its marketing on modern PC titles. After all, stepping into the complex legal dance of retro gaming was never going to be an official corporate objective. Instead, the passion for emulation emerged from the grassroots. Hobbyists and enthusiasts who recognized that the ROG Ally's power and platform made it a near-perfect device for reliving nostalgic favorites in a portable format. Despite the hush-hush nature of it, emulation soared in popularity and fueled countless how-to videos. In effect, it made the ROG Ally even more attractive, particularly among people who already had experience with these tools or who wanted a single portable library that spanned multiple console generations. This was yet another example of how user-led initiatives shaped the Ally's story, bridging the gap between official marketing and the real motivations driving sales. Right from the start, ASUS boasted about using Windows 11 on the ROG Ally, which meant immediate compatibility with Steam, Epic, GOG, and any other game client you might want. The advantage was obvious. No waiting for Linux-based Proton layers, no fiddling to see if certain anti-cheat systems worked. and a streamlined path to playing almost any PC game on the go. However, that very same environment came with a few headaches. Windows 11, while robust, isn't exactly known for minimal overhead. It also comes with forced updates that can pop up at inconvenient times. There were user complaints about auto-downloads triggering mid-game, driver updates that led to crashes, or the OS itself hogging more resources than some might like. In contrast, the Steam Deck's Linux-based OS was custom-built for that device, optimized to run games smoothly while controlling updates to ensure minimal disruption. This led to an ongoing debate in the handheld community. Is a Windows-based device the ultimate solution, or is it too bloated for a small form factor? It turned out that your perspective mattered a lot. If you were a power user who understood Windows inside and out, you relished that freedom to install any software you pleased, modify performance settings, and fine-tune system tasks. If you were less tech-savvy, you might have yearned for a simpler, curated interface that required little guesswork. As it happened, this divide became a catalyst for an even bigger phenomenon: the rise of the ROG Ally's modding scene. Because once you give the community a wide-open OS and a piece of hardware that's not yet polished to perfection, they're going to jump in with solutions and add-ons that fill the gaps. People realized the device was good, but with some extra effort, it could be downright spectacular. Every time a new gaming gadget hits the market, there's always a small group that sets out to customize, hack, or supercharge it. With the ROG Ally, that group wasn't small. It exploded almost immediately. Forums, Discord servers, and social media groups sprang up to share custom software tweaks, tips for underclocking or overclocking, and creative ways to optimize Windows to run more smoothly on the handheld's hardware. One of the earliest revelations was a series of guides that helped users strip down Windows to its essentials, removing unneeded background services, disabling certain telemetry features, and focusing on raw gaming performance. People realized that by trimming the fat from Windows 11, they could boost battery life, reduce stuttering, and even keep temperatures at bay during heavier loads. This was no official fix from ASUS, just enthusiastic fans rolling up their sleeves. In parallel, other modders turned their attention to interface. Because the ROG Ally launched with ASUS's own software overlay for performance modes, some felt it wasn't quite user-friendly enough. They created alternative front ends, introduced new shortcuts for toggling TDP thermal design power settings on the fly, and shared methods to seamlessly integrate with popular game launchers. The result was a multi-voiced community approach that gave each user control over how to refine their device. For many, these mods weren't just a bonus, they were essential. Without them, the ROG Ally might have felt rough around the edges or a bit too fussy. But with them, the handheld transformed into a flexible mini PC you could customize at every level. The outpouring of passion and expertise underscored something crucial. The ROG Ally might have had its missteps, but thanks to the community, no single flaw had to remain permanent. This unstoppable wave of modding smoothed over official shortcomings and kept the device relevant, even to those who initially doubted its capabilities. While many devices in the modern era are sealed tight, discouraging or outright preventing user upgrades, the ROG Ally turned out to be surprisingly friendly to people with a screwdriver and a dream. Official teardowns showcased a fairly accessible internal layout, and that alone set off a race to see who could improve the handheld's hardware components. The resulting wave of modifications touched on everything from battery capacity to storage enhancements, fueling endless videos and tutorials online. Battery modding. The first significant outcry about the ROG Ally, aside from its performance controversies, was the battery life. Gamers accustomed to playing for hours on a Switch or even the Steam Deck felt disappointed that the ROG Ally struggled under the weight of high-performance tasks. So, modders responded. They experimented with third-party battery packs, carefully matching voltage requirements and physical dimensions. Suddenly, it wasn't uncommon to see discussion threads describing how to replace the stock battery with a higher capacity unit. Though this often required advanced knowledge and carried warranty risks, the promise of extra gaming time without being tethered to a wall was too tempting. Caution was still necessary. Incorrect battery mods could cause dangerous issues or device damage, and not all third-party replacements were created equal. Yet as successful stories spread, more people took the plunge. Some reported an extra hour or two of gameplay at moderate settings, while others successfully tested the device with external battery solutions, effectively doubling the available power. It was a testament to the device's modular spirit and the unwavering enthusiasm of the Ally community. SSD upgrades. Another area ripe for improvement was storage. The ROG Ally typically offered decent out-of-the-box capacity, but for gamers wanting to store large AAA games and entire retro libraries at once, space disappeared fast. Enter the realm of SSD swaps. By removing a few screws, you could pop in a higher capacity M.2 SSD that not only expanded storage but sometimes boasted faster read-talk-write speeds. As with battery upgrades, not every SSD was guaranteed to fit or operate seamlessly. People debated brand reliability, heat output, and cost to gigabyte ratios. Nevertheless, countless owners insisted that upgrading to a bigger SSD was the best move they ever made, letting them carry enormous game collections without constantly juggling external drives or micro SD cards. In many ways, these expansions turned the ROG Ally from an interesting novelty into a serious portable computer that could house entire gaming libraries in one place. Once performance tweaks and internal hardware upgrades took off, it wasn't long before more creative modifications appeared. Gamers love personalization, and the ROG Ally was no exception. Inspired by older console modding trends, folks began designing and printing 3D parts to enhance the device's ergonomics and style. From refined D-pads to raised triggers and custom grips, a wave of user-generated accessories hit the scene with surprising speed. 3D printed D-pads. A common complaint on handheld devices is the stock D-pad. Some found the Ally's directional pad too squishy, while others felt it was placed awkwardly. So, modders whipped up 3D printed alternatives designed to improve tactile feedback. Some replaced the entire mechanism, while others added a thin membrane or micro-switching system. The results? A more responsive feel that made precision in classic platformers or fighting games a joy. For a subset of players, this difference was night and day. Another sign that user-driven hardware tweaks could correct oversights in the official design. Enhanced grips. Next came custom grips to tackle the potentially slippery form factor or to better accommodate bigger hands. Various designs emerged, from rubberized slip-ons to more elaborate add-ons that provided ergonomic ridges. Some used newly available hardware expansions that combined improved grips with battery life solutions, like handle extensions that also housed an additional battery cell. The level of ingenuity was extraordinary, demonstrating how a seemingly small deficiency in comfort could inspire an entire cottage industry of creative solutions. Cooling mods. Then there were custom vents, fan grills, and internal cooling shrouds to manage heat more effectively. While the majority of ROG Ally units functioned within safe temperature ranges, certain owners pushing extreme performance used 3D printed components to improve airflow. These modifications might have been less common, but they showed a willingness to push the device to extremes. Cooler internals meant you could wring out more stable frames, overclock the CPU or GPU a bit more, and maintain a quieter fan profile. All these innovations thrived in online marketplaces, specialized forums, and open-source design repositories. Nothing was purely theoretical. People were actively printing, testing, and iterating on these accessories. The entire phenomenon showcased the new shape of gaming hardware culture, where users collectively perfected a device that, straight from the factory, might not have been all it could be. Watching the ROG Ally's rise was like observing a high-stakes drama. On one side, you had fans raving about Windows-based freedom and the exhilarating possibility of playing contemporary PC games anywhere. They championed the community's unstoppable push to fix the device's shortcomings, claiming that these solutions indicated a thriving ecosystem. On the other side, skeptics argued that the Ally's need for so many tweaks proved it was an unfinished product. They insisted that a fully polished device shouldn't require extensive modifications just to match user expectations. Social media became a battleground. Some gamers praised ASUS for daring to innovate, citing the Ally's wide range of capabilities, spanning everything from AAA titles to retro console libraries. Others pointed to unaddressed flaws: battery life that remained subpar without complex modding, temperature spikes if you ran games at high settings for extended periods, and driver updates that could break or fix the system in equal measure. The divide wasn't necessarily hostility, it was more of a clash between different philosophies of what a handheld gaming device should be. Simultaneously, the existence of a large modding scene hinted at another narrative. Maybe the ROG Ally's greatest strength was that it catered to tinkerers. Even if official support occasionally fell short, the community's resourcefulness meant new solutions would appear in an organic, crowdsourced fashion. The same dynamic occurred around some of the most iconic handheld consoles in history, from the Game Boy to the PlayStation Vita. The difference here was that the ROG Ally wasn't an old or limited device. It was fresh, modern, and powerful, designed to run the latest PC software Yet it somehow ended up with a similarly devoted modder base, hungry to patch every gap and optimize every corner. As more users adopted the device, the conversation broadened. Could the ROG Ally's success ironically push more developers to optimize their games for this new form factor? Would ASUS fully embrace the community's solutions, or double down on official updates that might conflict with user-made mods? These were questions with no immediate answers. But one thing was clear: the ROG Ally had ignited a fervor in handheld circles, pushing boundaries and driving debate like few devices before it. When a corporation like ASUS hypes a device, there's bound to be a gap, sometimes small, sometimes wide, between the marketing message and real-world usage. In the ROG Ally's case, that gap grew more complex because the device wore multiple hats: a portable gaming PC, a retro console emulator, a modder's playground, and a potential competitor to established handhelds. So reviews and impressions spanned a huge range. On the positive side, many new owners lauded the Ally for delivering eye-catching visuals on a handheld screen, robust performance for mid-range AAA titles, and a surprisingly comfortable grip for what was effectively a Windows PC in your hands. Folks who practiced routine system maintenance, updated drivers properly, and dialed in a comfortable power profile discovered they could game for a decent amount of time, especially if they weren't pushing the hardware to its limits. On the negative side, real-world complaints piled up. Some found Windows 11 to be an unwieldy beast on a device with limited screen space. They had to fiddle with text scaling, endure random system messages, and occasionally encounter hardware driver conflicts, problems typically associated with big PC towers, not small handhelds. Others claimed that if they tried to run brand new AAA blockbusters at high settings, the battery drained in under an hour or the fan noise soared. There were even scattered reports of stuttering or screen flicker that required specific BIOS updates to fix. This broad spectrum of experiences echoed a simple truth: the ROG Ally was as flexible as it was complicated. Owners who wanted a streamlined, console-like approach found themselves making peace with Windows or turning to the modding community for solutions that masked the OS's rough edges. Those who loved tinkering relished the chance to transform the device into exactly what they wanted, no matter how many software or hardware modifications it took. All this culminated in a swirl of user testimonials, some of which read like glowing endorsements for a game-changing handheld, while others sounded like cautionary tales about cutting-edge technology that wasn't quite ready for prime time. The presence of a strong modding community helped many see the bright side. Sure, the Ally had flaws, but no flaw had to stay unsolved for long if you were patient and willing to learn. So where does the ROG Ally stand now? Depending on your perspective, it's either an ambitious powerhouse or an overhyped gadget that tries to do too much. But one fact remains undeniable: it has carved out its own niche in the handheld gaming world, largely thanks to a vocal and active community that refuses to let the device's missteps define it. Performance controversies, battery complaints, and Windows quirks might have cast early doubts, yet the unstoppable push from modders and everyday fans turned those potential deal-breakers into fixable challenges. In many ways, the ROG Ally's story is far from over. As new hardware or driver updates appear, as third-party manufacturers explore better battery solutions or innovative accessories, the device will likely continue evolving. And with every new wave of interest, be it from people discovering it as an emulation hub or from PC gamers looking for a new portable rig, more creative minds will join the fold, bringing fresh ideas and solutions. It's a testament to how gaming has changed. We no longer wait around for the manufacturer's next revision. We roll up our sleeves and create the handheld experience we want right now. The ROG Ally might never become a mass-market phenomenon like the Switch, but it doesn't need to. It's found its dedicated following: people who relish the balance of freedom, power, and a dash of chaos. Ultimately, the question might not be whether the ROG Ally is worth it. Instead, it's whether you're ready to embrace a device that thrives when its owners actively shape its destiny. If so, you'll find yourself at the heart of a revolution in portable gaming, one that's being written and rewritten every day by the very folks who hold the ROG Ally in their hands. And if that sparks your curiosity, then the adventure is just getting started. If you like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that alert button for more awesome videos. Gamers Service Announcement: the more you know.